Simple. The steps in this journey are not as important as the destination. Connors held up the reports they had just turned in. Now you're on your way to your destination, which is to have the heart of a superhero. I don't care if you fall or fail 1,000 times, as long as your heart is right. It's all important. It will carry you through the hard times, adversity, all of life's little trials, and the big ones. Now you're recognizing what that is. That's the first step in developing it. Most alphas take years to understand this. I want you to start on that now, first thing. First team was thinking hard and didn't fully comprehend what he had said. Darkspeed had been waiting since yesterday for an answer to his question. You said to ask you again today. What was your answer? Well, my answer is complicated, but I'll tell you the story when I first recognized what being a superhero was all about. Gather round. First team moved their desks in closer. Each had noticed how the coach's demeanor had changed. He wasn't as hard. I've only told this story to the people I've trained. It's not common knowledge and shouldn't be repeated. My powers developed when I was very young. I kept a lid on them as long as I could, when I should have been learning how to use them. As I started to understand the world more, I decided I wanted to be a superhero. I didn't understand what that really meant, but I made up my mind to try. After a few months of doing things poorly on my own, I decided to seek out someone to teach me the trade. Now, when I say poorly, I don't mean not winning my match poorly. I was a real train wreck. I was young, about your age, with no training or mentoring or any clue on how to use my powers. I wish there had been an Alpha Academy then. The world would be a different place. Anyway, my mother told me this story about an old superhero. Not especially powerful, never bragged about saving the world, and really worked to keep a low profile in his later years. He was gray and wrinkly, but his reputation was immaculate and everyone respected him. After talking to him and telling him my troubles, he agreed to take me on as an apprentice. He talked to me about things like heart, honor, integrity, and other stuff that I just wasn't interested in. What was his name, this superhero? Olympian asked. I can't give you his handle, but I can give you his real first name. That's not on record anywhere. Yes, please, Olympian said. His name was Stan. Stan was the one who showed me what a superhero should be. We had only been together about a month, and there were some nasty crooks held up on a roof shooting it out with police officers. Stan was pretty fast. Even as an old man, he was about twice as fast as she and could bench press a truck. He climbed the roof on one side of the building and told me to fly up the other side and draw their fire. My control over my powers was horrible. I had no training by anyone who knew how to fly or anything else, but I was really invulnerable. Stan knew the bullets wouldn't hurt me, and he could take out the gunmen without hurting them too bad, like I had done on our last engagements. Olympian laughed and asked, Why? What did you do? Well, my strength and invulnerability were huge, better than yours. But no one ever taught me how to fight gentle with those less powerful, or how to apprehend a suspect without breaking them in two. I sent many a perp to intensive care. I can attest to that. Olympian held up the forearm that Connors broke the day before and shook it for the class. This made everyone laugh, even Connors. Yeah, that's been a fault of mine for some time. Anyway, I drew their fire. Stan used his speed to quickly knock out or incapacitate the bad guys we saw on the roof. Police from the other buildings were now coming out of hiding and started waving to Stan. He was their hero. Then one of the officers said a call had just come in from across town. A train had derailed. The train wasn't completely, totally wrecked, just off the tracks, and they wanted me to go put it back on the tracks. They had seen me do things and knew how strong I was. I looked at Stan for what to do. Part of being an apprentice was following the journeyman's lead. He nodded and said to find him after. I started flying off in the direction of where this wreck had happened. I remember thinking, hope nobody was hurt. I was already across town when I heard the gunshot. Still flying the other direction, I used my supervision to look back at Stan on the rooftops. We missed one of the gunmen. He must have been hiding. He didn't want to be taken alive or whatever. He fired at Stan and hit him, twice. Then he turned his gun at the officers on the other roof. They scrambled for cover and returned fire. One of the officers had lost his footing when he was shot at and was falling off of the roof. This all happened in a fraction of a second. I turned around and started flying back. Now, I'm a good flyer now, but then I was just getting used to it. Remember, for a long time I tried not to use my powers. My speed came in uncertain increments. I had to keep a rein on it or I might punch through a building, again. I didn't know if I could make it back in time to catch this man. Even though he was 12 stories up, Stan knew it too. I watched Stan run off the roof he was on and catch the edge with his toes. like diving off a diving board. He launched himself down at the police officer like a bullet. He caught him in midair and gripped him belly to belly. Stan turned both of them as he hit him, and the momentum carried them into the fire escape on the other side of the alley. Stan smashed into it, back first, hugging the officer like a child to him. He protected him from the impact. I was halfway back. I watched like it was in slow motion. Stan tried to grab some of the broken steel to stop them from falling the other 8 stories or so. It didn't work. They both fell, and Stan turned the man in his arms to hold him up from the concrete. Stan took the impact on the ground from both of them in his own legs. I arrived just as they hit. The officer, scared to death, stood up uninjured. Stan had a pair of broken legs and a steel bar poking out of his back. The bullets didn't go very deep. I scooped him up and took him straight to a hospital. Stan told me of a doctor to take him to. A few hours later, he was in a hospital bed, and I was talking to the old doctor. He told me he first patched Stan up 39 years earlier, when Stan had less gray hair. He said Stan used to be able to heal from something like this overnight. Now, at least 2 weeks. I didn't know Stan had been in the game so long. I guessed his ability to heal extended his life. I spoke to him afterward and told him, "You almost got yourself killed." He looked at me and just smiled. He said, "You can't sour my mood. I just saved a life." I said, "You almost lost your own." He looked at me and said, "To try and save him, I risked 2 lives, his and mine. If I was successful, I saved 2 lives. If I failed to try, 2 lives are lost, his and mine." Connors was pointing at his heart as he repeated the words Stan said to him. Stan then explained to me how he hesitated once before and it replayed in his head again and again. The time he hesitated to save someone, either out of fear or lack of training, haunted him. When I said you needed to learn this without someone dying, I meant it. At the beginning of every semester, this is the exact same question I will ask and you will answer. This is what it takes to be a superhero. Now, do you have any questions for me? If you're stronger than Olympian and you know all of this, why are you teaching here? Shouldn't you be out there being a superhero? Virtuoso asked. After the Coalition's war was over, Omni asked many of us who had gotten wet to step down. What do you mean, wet? Darkspeed asked. To get blood on your hands. To get wet with it. Those of us who were in the middle of the war had become soldiers, not superheroes. Omni made the point that someone who had gotten used to killing shouldn't be a superhero anymore. It can lead to vigilantism. Did you kill people in the war? Midas asked. Supervillains and takers of lives. Yes, I did. Not something I'm especially proud of, but something that needed to be done. The Coalition members were betrayers and killers. They needed to be put down, like a pack of rabid animals. Will we ever be asked to do that? Bioforce asked. As God is my witness, I hope not. Look, I paint being a superhero as something so hard to do it can't be done. But I want you prepared for every worst-case situation. What was your worst-case situation? Darkspeed asked. Vector, Connor said without hesitation. He was as smart as he was merciless. He did his homework before facing anyone. Always had 6 ways to kill his opponent, dozens of hostages, 4 backup plans, and 3 escape routes. Vector was smart enough that his plans never seemed obvious until it was too late. He was a nightmare to fight. Did you ever face him? Yeah. I saw when he tried to kill Omni. Connors looked very thoughtful. Omni's invulnerability held and he fried Vector, we hope. What do you mean, we hope? She asked. Connors smiled, stood, and started to perform for the Alphas. Omni vaporized an already wounded Vector and a few square kilometers of landscape. But superheroes that have been around for a while know one thing. A supervillain's not dead until you have his body on a slab. 3 doctors run separate DNA tests to identify the body. Dentist matches dental records. A priest performs an exorcism. His heart is removed by an Aztec priest. His artificially intelligent computer that thinks like him is destroyed. All mad scientists' ways of reconstructing him are destroyed. And finally, his body and heart are thrown into separate active volcanoes on different continents. Even then, you can never be too sure. First team was amused by this monologue, but they needed the amusement. So what you're saying is, vaporization is not good enough, she said. No, Vector was that slippery and that dangerous. It would have been nice to see the body. Omni was a little rushed that day. Mr. Connors, Midas asked. Just call me Coach. Your question? I don't know much about superheroes, and you seem to have known them personally. Can you tell us about Omni and Vector?